Our last feature story today is about avian flu in the United States. Egg prices are up 60% this year following the outbreak of avian flu in the Midwest. Almost 50 million birds have been destroyed. There is concern, however, that it will spread this winter as wild waterfowl migrate to the southern United States. The concern about the present outbreak was voiced at a hearing in Washington held in early July. Market to Market's Mike Pearson reports.
For the first time, have we had a high path avian influenza virus to cross from Europe and Asia into North America. The first time ever.
The avian flu took center stage at a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. The Senate Agriculture Committee brought together USDA and industry officials, as well as producers who were directly impacted by the deadly virus. No exact cause for the spread of the virus was revealed, but mostly anecdotal information was given to senators indicating waterfowl were the biggest carriers of the disease.
Environmental contamination is probably the biggest issue that allows the virus to move around. That may have been initially in the Pacific Flyway from wild birds contaminating environment, and that tracked in potentially around farms where birds may have been there eating residual feed that was spilled or having ponds too close to houses that it would make it easier to be tracked in. After the virus adapted in parts of the Midwest, then that contamination was in the barns, and they're more likely to have the tracking between barns by human activity.
The biosecurity side of the equation is at the forefront of every producer's mind, as individual farms have different risks.
And I think that we as humans, myself included, is that things that we do every day, repetitive over and over and over again, we kind of forget that they could be risk activities. We tend to look outside ourselves to somebody else being the risk and not myself. And I think that's the challenge that all farmers and the companies have, is to go back and really assess honestly, and sometimes using an outside person who does risk assessments to say, where are the critical control points?
However, those same leaders were quick to point out the virus could return in a few weeks, impacting the same areas and even new locations as the hot, dry weather wanes.
What we're planning is a worst-case scenario that every major poultry producing state in this country for layers, broilers, and turkeys could be affected. So that's 20 states, and we're estimating 500 cases. Now, that's a worst-case scenario, and do we think that'll happen? We pray not. And I don't think that it will, because I believe we're taking actions, and the industry will take actions to try to beef up our biosecurity for this.
Since March, 48 million birds have been killed across 15 states because of H5N2. The economic impact tops the $1.6 billion mark alone in Iowa and Minnesota, two of the hardest hit states. Iowa turkey producer Brad Moline lost 56,000 turkeys and 2/3 of his annual income when the outbreak hit his independent operation. Moline says many in his similar situation won't have the money to upgrade barns, and they want to know how biosecurity and government response time can be improved.
Clear communication, start to finish. When we get that presumptive positive on the farm, we need to be contacted immediately by the USDA. On our farm, we broke on a Tuesday morning. Our first contact with the USDA was Thursday, and we didn't depopulate until Saturday.
Producers face a lag between depopulation and getting their farms back in full working order. Restocking is time-consuming, and it could take 2 years before those impacted have flocks back at their pre-infection levels. One panelist wanted to go around federal requirements that would have expedited cleanup and get back to repopulating the empty houses.
The process can be streamlined. There should be a greater incentive for the producer to do the clean and disinfecting, because they can do it a lot quicker and a lot more economical than what APHIS can do. APHIS is limited by their federal contractors, what they can do. They've got to suit up in the hazmat suits. For example, when we were depopulating our farms, our people were pulling out 4 birds to one of APHIS's birds. Or not APHIS, but the contractor.
The only available vaccine has yet to see widespread use. The controversy is not over health concerns, but rather trade issues, as some countries will hold up U.S. products over the fear of the unknown effects of the drug.
I want the tool in the toolbox to use if we need it. The limiting factor for the use of that is trade. You have to weigh a loss of $3 or $4 billion in trade against the use of the vaccine itself.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult situation.
Farm economist Thomas Elam testified some domestic producers were benefiting from higher prices, but just because the cost in the store goes up, the worth has not gone up for those in the grocery store.
The consumer is going to suffer from this to the tune of about $3 billion in increased food expenditures that could have gone for other things in their budget.
The outbreak has led producers to call for a program similar to crop insurance that would compensate poultry farmers in case of another outbreak.
It's going to be extremely difficult to try and get private insurance companies to want to insure those type of products, since we're in the middle of a disaster and the worst animal health issue that we've ever experienced in this country.
You can watch this story again on the avian flu at our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week stories on YouTube and Facebook.